Okay, hello. My name is Maxim, uh, and this is okay. Here we go. Green, not green. See if it works. The live video for some reason doesn't want to let me stream, so it will be streamed on YouTube, I believe, with a streamer. But I will just double check it in dashboard here quickly. That it's actually working. The first time I'm using Restreamer, so it says connecting. Okay. That's not very encouraging. Uh, okay, it looks like live. Yeah, I'm not sure how do I make it live because they say you need to have a pro subscription. Sounds like live video, unfortunately, as usual, was very buggy. So I'm just going to skip them for now. Okay, so let me start my timer so I don't forget to take a break. Okay, so this series is kind of an experiment I had in my head. I want to try an experiment in following that. During following different tutorials and when I work with my students at Thinkful, I find a lot of code which I wish I can refactor later at some point. And when I show my students some of this refactoring, they find them very interesting because they see the techniques that I use, and for me, they kind of like, hey, this is obvious, that's what you do. But they're like, oh, I didn't know that you need to do this and this before you go and change your code. So here I want to take a real life example, let's say, from how to GraphQL. So this is a website which is a great series of tutorials on from I think GraphCool is the company who sponsored it, which is now reloading for some reason. So this set of tutorials go through how do you do GraphQL, and one I have is later on you go into front end and you do like React plus Apollo. So for this specific refactoring, you do need to know React. You don't not necessarily need to know GraphQL because I will explain most of it. So they go through all this tutorial, and as in many tutorials, if I find how do I switch to that specific tutorial, just skip it. Next chapter. Here we go. So as in many tutorials, and I find that a bit frustrating to me when we teach people programming is we often say, oh, now open and update the link as follows, and they don't really show you where to update. They just say basically copy paste this code, and here's the convenient button to copy paste. So yeah, if you continue to copy paste, and then this is the summary, which I don't think they even have the final project. So you need to go to GitHub to find the actual project. One second, when the GitHub loads. So here they might have the project, but that's what I ended up with at the end. So this is one component which has over almost 200 lines of code, and it has a ton of shit, let's say. And this is not like me inventing it, putting it here because I want to. It's actually the way that they teach you, and I understand that teaching GraphQL, they don't want to overload you with anything else. But for me, when I was writing it, I was like, this is too much. So GraphQL is this query language which kind of replaces REST. And one of the things that you do when you use the Node, you create this GraphQL. Yes, I forgot to switch to to the proper camera. Okay, here we go. So now you should be able to see my screen. So GraphQL is this thing, and that is the GraphQL query. So you don't need to really know that you need to know how we use. So when we're using GraphQL queries, this get links, and if I remember which shortcut is this, final references, I think it's this one. Conveniently, Visual Studio doesn't see for some reason any references, but there is actual references to it right here. So this is how we make our component GraphQL aware. It's very similar to Redux. If you have used Redux React, you use connect instead of this. With GraphQL, you just use GraphQL and you give it the link, the query itself. One thing that I find very disturbing, let's say, is that this monster query now sits in here, and everything else is kind of sits in here, and all this other query sits in here too. And yeah, it's kind of getting a bit to the point where it's like, I don't know what is happening anywhere anymore. And as you notice, this GraphQL query is kind of really weird because it has this GQL thing, which is not really a function. It's something, I don't know, magical, whatever you call this thing. And then it does use a string template. So I thought it's a string template, this thing, but it's actually no. You want for Visual Studio Code at least to recognize this GraphQL query, you need to carry all of this whole thing together. So the first thing I want to do is to just move those queries. Now, whenever I do some kind of refactoring like this, I want to make sure that I didn't break anything, and that's for me one of the most important things. And for that, I use storybooks for React. So if I do yarn run storybook, if you've never used storybook, you just go to storybook, JS, I guess, and you'll find the website quite quickly. Yeah, storybookjs.org. So it's gonna think for a while and compile and build my application. But what Storybook allows me to do is allows me to test my application in isolation. So isolation works to a certain extent, and you can see how it's not like magically testing it; it's just running this file. So I have a linked list here. My linked list, however, has static links only. So if I move my GraphQL query, it's not. I wouldn't really. Oops. I'm opening it in the wrong browser. Let's try to copy this guy and open it in Opera instead. So if I open the storybook, it has all this. It has the linked list and it has the static links, which apparently doesn't even work anymore because I have this check here, which I've added in the last part. I think is new page. This check, yeah. When I was editing all of this, I was like, oh, okay, gee, because we're also checking here for what kind of page is this? Like, is it the new page or is it the top page? This component is reused in different variations, and if we don't supply the location here, then is new page throws an error. So let's fix this quickly so we can actually look at it. Let me just close this linked list. And I just want to check what is my Visual Studio C linked list. Okay, so it does seem to be not very. So it's checking here for location path name includes new. So what we can do is just quickly add this, and if location is undefined, so this is not undefined, I guess. Then we return this, and otherwise we just return an empty location. And hopefully that fixes this issue. I think it's recording thing. Oh yeah, I've enabled the setting in OBS first time, and I think it was actually not a good idea because if when you're streaming, you enable recording, this is what happens to your CPU. Let's say OBS goes a bit crazy, just a tiny bit. Yeah, so finally it says that YouTube stream is online now, but that's the only thing it says online. So, okay, so if we go back to the storybook and try to look at this guy again. Now we're getting some different calendar property length of undefined in get links to render. Get links to render symbol. Yes. Get. Yeah, my Visual Studio for some reason is completely blind to this file. It doesn't. I think even for Visual Studio, this file is like, oh my god, this is too much. Get links to render. So this thing is checking for the new page, and if it's a new page, it's checking for the length, and it does the sorting thing where we're checking that the feed has vaults. So our feed right now, the one which I supplied in the storybook, doesn't actually have any vaults. The strange thing is that it shows you also all this like not this is exactly the code from the tutorial, so I did not modify this level. This is a very unsafe programming. They're presuming that the vault is there all the time because this is the only it's only designed to work within this GraphQL query. So what we can do is kind of something weird here, and I almost want to use the ramp the default here, because so if L2 vault isn't defined, we can't compare the weights. And I guess I can just say if L2 vault isn't defined, then how do I sort them actually? So what we can do is kind of nothing but Haki comes to my mind, to be honest, right now. Because we can do this, but then we would need to do L2 vault length or what here? That is a big question, because how do we sort it if we don't have a vault? By default, it sorts by the date, I believe. So we can use the date, which this guy doesn't have either. So it's probably just going to be like, oops. I'm trying to figure out where's the date there. ID, link, description, posted by, votes. Maybe there's no date. Yeah, so yeah, it's almost like we need to not sort it if there is no vote there. And if you hear the word sound, this is my keyboard, so I need to fix it. It has like one of the legs come out. Yeah, okay, so let's leave this one for now. And what I want to focus on is how do we get rid of this GraphQL. And this is a very easy thing with the refactoring, to get lost in something else. There's always like other things, and like, oh shit, but I want to do other things too. So we were focusing originally on trying to figure out, can we make this thing to work with Apollo so that we can move the queries safely. And to do this, I need to require linked list differently. So if you've ever done Redux, this pattern is quite familiar. We export default the component, and we export default the component with GraphQL, and we export the component by itself without GraphQL. I can't find the component anymore. Here we go. That's the guy. The component is just a function. It's not a class. And that's one of the only deviation that I actually did from the tutorial, because I don't like throwing those classes everywhere. Like, okay, so get current page. Keep getting this pagination. So pagination I've introduced at the end, and I think it's making more problems than solving anything, because it's very unsafe code. So yes, if we do match params, it doesn't have anything, then we either need to use the default syntax here or match.params. If it's anything, send this, otherwise default to 10. Is not undefined. Okay, process undefined. Oh, the match is undefined itself. Oops. I'm thinking. Okay, so now it gives us the error thing, which is not really exciting. So let's print this error and see what's happening there. I apparently didn't print the error. This is the state that the component goes if you didn't give it something went wrong. If you didn't give it the right queries, nothing. My GraphQL query now requires a lot of stuff. Ah, okay. So there's no error. Awesome. Objects are not provided with direct child, not file page. Oh, yes, I know what's the problem. I forgot to run the server because this thing tries to talk to the server that I would just run, and if I don't run the server, then nothing happens. So now it should be okay. Candidate property links of undefined. Now this is something more interesting. 84. Yeah, there's the subscriptions now, which for some reason is failing when we run them, but then I'm gonna just comment out this for now. Okay, here we go. So now we're getting something, at least. So what I wanted to make sure is that I can actually move those queries out. So here I have this part, and here I have my thing that I'm going to move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this link and simply move it to another file. And so I'm going to import get links from, so I'm thinking it's more like something like link list. Yeah, get links, let's go like this. I don't like this gigantic names, kind of for me they seem weird. And I'm just gonna create a file queries. New file, queries.js, and I'm just gonna move this guy over there. And I'm just gonna rename it to be get links. Because I know screaming is fun, but not. I also know that this get links is probably used in many places, so I need to just double check. Okay, as you can see, it got broken somewhere. So here we import the get links. Oh, interesting. So here we're actually importing it. We're reusing this somewhere else. Okay, we don't want to do that. Create link. We want to import this from queries instead. Get links. Links on page. So I'm not going to worry about this thing. So it tells us JQL is not defined, which is correct. So I'm going to remove this JQL stuff here. Now we removed one of the imports, which makes it already smaller. Here we're kind of stuck in conundrum where we have JQL here still, so we need to start moving this more. So this is, oops, this is the one which is tricky to move a bit. Because it has this document part. So we're going to manually move it. Export, const. As you can see, it has a lot of similarities. But I'm going to call it subscription new link. JQL. Oh, JQL. That didn't work. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to remove the document part and leave the JQL, and here we're just going to get the subscription guy. Subscription new link. And then we can go find the end of this. and put subscription new link here. Okay, so it's starting to look a bit more manageable already. Oh, this is not new link, that's why. Subscription new vault, what's called. But there is new link too. We will start with the vault, and then the subscription new vault. So this is our subscription new link. Not very exciting at all, but bear with me on this. Oops. Export cost, subscription, new link. Okay, so let's see what kind of errors we're gonna get again. Get links is undefined, so we still have get links somewhere. Okay, here, so let's rename this guy, save it. Okay, here starts the fun. So line 30 doesn't like this part because, oh yeah, I forgot to put subscription, new link. Okay, so now we get back to square one, and we know this is working at least, and we moved some of the stuff from here. We removed quite a lot of code actually from here. What I want to do now, instead of going forward and keep refactoring it, I'm going to do something weird, and I'm going to commit the linked list and the queries. Moving the links out in the component. And the reason I'm committing now, and I'm going to commit this thing, is so that I have almost like a milestone to which I can always go back. So with this create link, for example, now it's importing this link from page, which I don't know where it is, which I realize I kind of like might have lost it. There's this update query thing, which right now I don't want to touch yet, but I kind of need to. So let's do touch it because I've just committed this and this is broken now. Let's see what happens if I uncomment this. Oh yes, I need the comma there. This is part of the subscription, but at least now we can actually read it. So can read property links of undefined. I think it's this. So feed is undefined most likely. So let's do again, this thing is not undefined. Then we use an empty object. Otherwise, we say previous dot feed dot link. Other way around. It's something weird there with those things. Yeah, I'll just give it an empty object. Okay, so if we do this, candidate property node of now. Okay, so the subscription data new link doesn't have a node there. It gets this weird subscription there while I'm not sure why it's getting it. It's not supposed to be getting it, but apparently it still works. It just gives me this error here. So just commit this so that I have it restart. Oops. Restore date query. Okay, so now as I move this queries, and we can at least not be, because we just removed around 60 lines of code. That was quite intense, but they are almost there. And it was kind of very scary to touch because it was a lot of code which is actually repeating itself, Like I can see that this part, ID description URL posted by ID description URL created at, that's the only difference here. But this is the same link thing. Votes ID. So there's this thing in GraphQL code fragments. I think they allow you to do something like this, but I don't want to go too specific on GraphQL. Instead, I want to just do it, see if I can just hack it around, let's say. So this is essentially our link query part. And if I understand correctly what this thing is, I should be able to just grab this, put it as a const link query, put it like this, and then chunk it over here like this. And then in here, vote user ID. I hope it's exactly the same. Yeah, it looks the same. Well, okay, that was very loud. The trickiest part is to know where to end here. And this looks like the same. Yeah, this is new link. Link query. The only difference is this link query description posted by votes. Yeah, same thing. So I can get rid of this guy too. Let's see what happens. I'm not entirely sure it's gonna work. This is an experiment here. Ooh, surprise! But it actually worked. And guess what? This is way easier to read now because you see it's not getting overloaded with this gigantic part of how do you query the link. And I can actually tell what this thing is doing. Okay, so it's getting the counts and it's getting the link. So then this guy is subscribing to a new node, which is vote, I guess, and then the vote has a link inside, and that's where we get the link query. So yes, we could have used fragments, but I want to keep it simple. And again, can I commit this file? I wonder. So if I say commit, would do nah. Add. I'm just seeing can I stage this file? Stage changes. And what happens then? It just staged everything? Okay, so when I say stage changes, it just changes only this. Okay, and we can say, oops, we can say stage changes here. And then let's say commit. And so this is simplify queries to avoid repeated fragments. Okay, so the reason why this thing was here is to take a break. So that's why I have this break thing here. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. It's called stretching time. Okay, so back here. So also I use this timer not only to take like a stretch, but also to, especially when I'm getting stuck on something, like I'm feeling like I'm trying to do something and it's not working. This is the time when I can sit down and feel and think about like, okay, maybe I should not be doing what I'm doing right now and try a different approach. The refactoring has been going so well, quite good for now, so I don't think we need to try a different approach. So let me just skip this timer and start the new one. So another thing here which I find a bit, let's get rid of this console, a bit disturbing is the amount of functions. Because I have this main function, main component, right? That component is relatively simple. But then I have all this stuff which they've introduced later, and when I was writing, and I was already like, they're reusing the same component, but they're making the component kind of way uglier than it needs to be, because it has this part where, okay, this part is only rendered when this page is new, and is new page, if we look at this function, where's this function, is new page, what is this thing? The is new page is based on which location we go. So if we go to /new, so if when we actually use the real application, we go to like /new like this too, and that means it's the paginate component. There's the top version of that component, but this new page is practically, I don't necessarily agree with trying to put it in the same component. So what I want to try is to see if I can make it not be the same component. I'm going to call one of them is top linked list, and this guy is going to do what it's already doing, because the top is the default behavior. So the top one we'll just get the feed query, and it doesn't even need all this other stuff. So that's what we're gonna get as a prop, and then for the rest of it, so we need this loading part. I'm just gonna copy this for now, and we need this part, the feed, and if error we saw something else, and I'm not sure what this default. I think it's no. Else if that's probably why I need the default. Else if tada. So a new page don't need all of this stuff. Don't need. I need get links to render, but this get links to render actually is not going to be as crazy, because this is my links map render link. Do I need to do anything else? Get links to render. If it's new page, returns the feeder link. So it does this part. That's my get links to render essentially, and I can do this here. That's my const links, I guess. So I get the feed. Where do I get the feed from? The feed I'm getting from, oh yeah, here, from the feed query. So I get the feed, I get the links, I create a copy, and then I sort them by the number of votes. That's it. And this is my top link list. So I'll save it, and what I'm going to do now in my storybook is I'm actually going to change to not test the link list, and I'm going to say the top here, and I'm going to check the top link list instead. And it says top link list is not defined because I did not import this. So that's why it's like, oh, but how to import it if it's GraphQL. So if it is GraphQL, I'm gonna need to move it into its own file. It's probably the simplest thing to do. Top linked list, and some of these parts I can actually reuse, as we're gonna see in a second. Oops, that was not the right copy paste. So I need to import React from React, and I need to get this GraphQL query. So I need this part, and I don't need all of it. So I'm just gonna show you in the. So the thing that it does here, GraphQL get links. So I need to import this get links thing. Import get links from queries. Can I get rid of this command F thing? What is it? Yeah, just checking the right thing. Oops. And so explore GraphQL, name this query. So we have this options, match location, and then we have all this page crop. And again, we're checking if it's a new page, then we do something. Otherwise, we actually do not do anything except just return the variables. And I do believe that we don't actually change those. We just use this constants essentially. So we say first is 100, the skip is 0, and not ordered it by anything, because that's the variables that our query requires. So because it's just one line, we can essentially do this and get rid of this bracket. There might be too many brackets there. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so then we have this linked list with sub. What is this? Linked list with sub. Okay, so that's why I had. Oh, that's why it didn't work, because my subscription was actually only doing it in a component did mount, and I wrapped it in a separate component because I didn't want to screw my functions. So I wanted to keep them functions. I didn't want to convert them to class. Okay, so if I should I use this guy? The other thing I can do is just move this outside of here. So again, new file relative, link list subscription. But here it's like, oh, am I moving too much? So I want to not maybe do too many things. So I'm just gonna import this guy from there for now. Link list with sub. From link list. And hopefully this is the only thing I need. So let's see if we give us anything. Now that I want the task, I want the node thing. Top link list is not defined. Yeah, I have not imported it. So import top link list from components. Oops. Components top link list. So GraphQL is not defined. Yes, expected. So now we need to require this GraphQL stuff. Argument when defined path to parser was not very GraphQL document. Oh yes, I have not imported this properly. Oops. Okay, so now we're loading. Okay, now we're getting the links still. And I believe those links are sorted. You see 0, 0 is at the end. This guy is a bit weird. And the sorting is kind of strange because it doesn't sort by number of votes for sure. Which is the question I wonder why. So why can't I say order here by votes dot oh, I know why, because I screwed this up. One, 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 one. No, that's still really strange. Seems to me. Links. So I sort them by votes, and it doesn't seem to be sorting properly at all. Let me just do console.log, and we're gonna look at links.map to see the actual vote length. So this will give us just whatever the inside the links right now. And it should put it in the console, so we won't be able to see it if we don't bring the console. Console. Okay, that's not very nice. Okay, we need to look after this bundle rebuilding thing. Ah, interesting. So you didn't console this links thing. So what is the links then? Oh yeah, okay. So so this is the weird thing. When I did it in here, I overrode the query. I'm not entirely sure how it actually works, but I don't actually need to pass the feed there because the feed is coming from Apollo. So Apollo is supplying all this feed query stuff. So 1 vote, 1 vote, 2 votes. Still doesn't feel to light up. So let me just do this h1 links.map document. So that's supposed to give us something. I have a feeling that I'm changing the wrong file. Oh, I'm changing the wrong function. Oh yes, I'm changing the wrong function because linked list with sub, it's actually it's rendering the linked list. So it's not rendering the children. So we actually need to pass the children through it somehow here. Let me just put top linked list and see if this works. Render link is not defined. Okay, now we're getting something. So this render link function is somewhere here, and it needs it. So I'm gonna copy this for now. We're gonna figure out how to reuse this in a second after this is working without subscription. Link is not defined. Yes, import link. Link from link. I don't need the simples anymore. Okay, so, oh yeah, I have this h1 here. I was wondering, why am I not getting? The console log should have pointed me to something is wrong. So now it's finally sorting properly. You see now 2 votes is on the top and 0 votes is at the bottom. So the thing that I want to, like, first I copy pasted this, which is not very nice. But what I also did is I removed the subscription, so that part doesn't work with the subscriptions anymore, which is not good. So this links map render is essentially the only thing that we just need to pass the links here. So if we say here a link list and we pass the links to it, which is we got there, then this guy can do this whole thing. So that's the link list component essentially, which the only thing it does this div part and it does the subscription part. So then I would change my link list to the subscription. So instead of returning list, it's gonna return this based on the props that is passed by the link this.props.links. I don't like using props directly. This.props, and we're just gonna put links. So this is our link list. I'm gonna go link list with sum for now. To keep it as it is, import link list with sum from link list. And we should be able to just remove this if that works. And that did not work. Why did it work? Pum 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 pum. We have an error or something there. Console reference link list is not defined. Oh yeah, link list is sub. Okay, so it's loading. Cannot read properties, subscribe to more, undefined. Subscribe to what? Subscribe to more. Where is this coming from? Subscribe to more should be inside the feed query property. Okay, so this guy also needs the feed query. So we need to pass it the props and the links. Looks like. Because without the props, without the feed query, it won't be able to figure out. Yeah, I'll just pass a feed query. The feed query is feed query. I think that's the only thing it needs. So I'd rather be specific. It's kind of weird that it does require a feed query. Oh, really? Oh. How would we do that? Because the way the destructuring works, it destroys this name. So we'll have a loading error in the feed, but we don't have the feed query as a name. So we can, I guess, do this, but it's kind of ugly. We're reconstructing essentially the feed query. Or we would need to deconstruct this feed query here. So one way or another, we need to give it. Yeah, we can't really reconstruct it like this, so we do need to const. I'm just gonna grab this. The fancy destructuring doesn't always work. Feed query. And then here we just pass the feed query. Again, in theory, pass only the subscription functions to make it more explicit to what it wants, because I'm giving it the whole query, which is not really nice, I guess. I'm not sure what it else needs, to be honest. It only calls subscribe, so subscribe to new words, subscribe to... Yeah, it sounds like it just needs to subscribe to more function. So I could have done this. Oh no, he's doing it again, right? Feed, subscribe to more. Subscribe to more. And this is the props that it's getting. I'm hoping this is enough. Subscribe to more is not a function. Yes, it is. Was it inside the feed or inside the feed query? That's the question. Oh yeah, here we go. I didn't save this file. So now it's working, and subscription is working too, which is nice. And then we can kind of check the subscription. It's kind of tricky. We need to insert a new file there. So let me leave this for now, so we can get rid of this. And for now, this is working. Almost the same as it was. I'm kind of ignoring this guy for now. So let's come back to this guy and call it ranked paged linked list. And this guy is doing similar things with loading, and then it has the feed, and then it does this stuff with is new page, so it's actually checking is it the new page or not. So because we're presuming that this check will be done outside, we're getting rid of this here. Then when it calls get links to render, we can actually check what it does. For the new page, it doesn't do anything. So this is just the feed links. Feed.links. Okay, that's relatively easy. Get current pages may be the only function we're actually going to keep here. Yeah, and this is the function which can be kept here. We can also move it outside and just give it this guy a page instead. And again, we're not going to have this is new page, which is really, really weird syntax, I find. Can just do this, and we're getting the previous page here and the next page on clicks thing. Okay, so now this linked list is called from I think it's app.js. So when it calls the top thing, it can use top linked list, and we can say import top linked list from top linked list, and then when it builds new page, then it's going to use page linked list, and that's why I need to create a new thing here, page linked list. New file, page linked list. So this is, I don't have a story for this. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do yarn run. Actually, I can do it in Visual Studio. New run task. And I can just do start, which is going to start the normal server. And the reason I can do it because it's actually on the home page. So it doesn't really matter if I'm not, see the page links is not defined. So I'm going to take this, move it into page link list, import React from React, then move this GraphQL stuff and use page link list here. And again, we don't need to do this if here anymore. This is how do we need to do this. And we need to move all these functions which are specific for pagination. So let's say get current page. I'm gonna keep get current page here for now to keep the code simpler. The next page in the previous page, I'm gonna put those functions right here on top, not at the bottom. And I think we also need this constant links per page. And is new page, I'm not sure I actually need this anymore. I'm gonna ignore this guy. And so this becomes our actual links to link list. So now we can rename this guy to be link list, but we're not gonna do it for now to not break the other component. So import link list with substitution with from link list. The page links is not defined, yes, because we haven't adjusted this. Okay, so render list is not defined. Where is this coming from? Render link. Why is it trying to use render? Oh yeah, so this guy is still trying to use the render link. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the link list here instead, and the children, the links, which is links thing, and subscribe to more, which is the function subscribe to more, which we need to grab. So we need to get subscribe to more function. Link list is not defined, yeah, because it's link list is sub. Links from page is not defined. So create link is failing heavily because we did not adjust it at all. So create link apparently is heavily dependent on the number of links per page if it's a paginated one. And it was getting it before from there. Okay, so links per page is coming. Let's just put it in the constant or something. New file constant. And we're just gonna import this guy. Import links per page from. This is actually how they do it in the tutorial, but I didn't see the point of doing this, to be honest. Okay, so get links. So we call this. Oops, we call this get links instead. Get links. So GraphQL is not defined. Yeah, we're getting the same stuff as we got with our top one. So we just need to get an import from it. get links is not defined. So where is this get links coming from? Okay, so this guy needs the same query, import get links from, and if you notice, my timer went off, and that often happens to me. I'm like, oh fuck, the timer went off and I didn't finish. So that means this 5 minutes I'm gonna keep finishing this thing, but I'm not gonna what is this skip thing? Oh yeah, oops. I'm not gonna do anything extra, so I'm just gonna make this guy work, and that's it. Okay, so this is the new one. So if I go to the top, we only get the top without the sorted by the vote. If I go to the new one, it gives us some, and then must give us next page, which is hopefully working, yes. Okay, so now because this guy is a class anyway, we can move this things inside, but let me just commit first. And this is a bit of big commit. Yes, I want to commit all, splitting link list into separate components. That is unfortunately what often happens when you split it into multiple components. You would need to do. Okay, so this thing still works, fine. And the last change I want to make, I know I just said I'm not going to make any changes, but this is an easy one. I'm just going to move this inside this class. Yes, technically there is no reason to do this change, but this guy is already using, it's already inside, so might as well just make it like this. And then this guy goes in here. Same story. This is the props. Subscribe to what's not defined. Yeah, because it is this and this here. Okay, and let's just move this guy inside. So it's a bit neater. And I'm gonna keep this guy to accept only two of those things. And it doesn't even need this, so it just needs to return this now. And yep, this is not defined anymore because we're gonna use this. What? Link list doesn't contain an expert named render link. Yeah, it does. It's this guy. Oh, what am I doing wrong? This guy is not needed anymore. Oh, what's wrong with this linked list with this guy? I have no clue, to be honest. I'm just gonna do this. Oh, no, it's not this problem. That is all good. Except the problem is that search tries to use the linked list So link list with subscription, this dot state dot links, and this is the problem because now the subscription is not going to work because this guy doesn't have a feed query. I think. Oh no, it does. I think this is the query. This dot props dot. Ooh, it's a different query. Interesting. So it's this query when the result dot subscribe to more. Link list the sub. Oh yeah, this is my links. This actually is an interesting side effect, I think. And there is no render anymore. And I'm gonna import the link list. And yes, we're not using default import yet. I think I just introduced an interesting link list sub. Yeah, sub. This name is gonna bug me. Oh, okay. So this query resulted data.feed. So we need to set the state. So we're setting the state for loading, but we also need to set the state for the query for the result.subscribe to more, I guess. This is really weird. But I'm gonna go with it. So it's this state.subscribe to more. And if it's either this or we're gonna use an empty function. It doesn't matter, I like my empty function thingy. Okay, so we'll just put this. And the search unexpectedly broke. And I don't think it actually works, yeah. You see this prop subscribe more, we'll try to call it. To be honest, we should really check now, in this guy, we should check if this prop subscribe to more is a function called function, then we should subscribe. Okay. That is cool. So the interesting side effect here now, potentially, I'm not entirely sure, I would need to check it. Finish cleaning up link list. Potential side effect is that this search became reactive. So we actually just add a subscription to it. So if someone goes and votes on this, for example, the vote will update in real time here, which was not a feature before. Because I didn't realize the subscription worked by hard coding a specific query there instead of passing a function. So when we extracted the function like this, we kind of introduced a feature accidentally, which is not really refactoring because refactoring not supposed to do that, which means I kind of went a bit over the board. But yeah, so I want to show that this the original, which was show history. How do you do it? I'll just go to my GitHub, I guess. Push And the original of this was how to GraphQL. No, not my how to GraphQL. How, here you go. So original, which is src components linked list. So that's not the original, that's the new one. And if I look in the history, so this is me doing it today. So this is the one done with the tutorial. So let's just look at, oops. Let's just look at the state of this guy right here. Link list. Okay, so it used to be 188 lines of code. So it's not only about the lines, it's kind of hard to follow what the fuck is going on here, because there's like three gigantic queries, and there's also some update query stuff right here. There is a ton of different functions. There's some subscriptions in the middle. There is another ton of different pagination functions, which has nothing to do with the rest of rendering. And there's a lot of stuff happening all in the same, just like linked list monster function. So I cannot tell anymore what does this linked list did anymore. Now this linked list, have a kind of clear goal. It's you give it the links and you give it the subscription, and it renders the links and it subscribes to the new links and the new votes on the things. So you can give it any kind of links and it will subscribe to them. That's pretty nice. And we separated the top into a separate one. And yes, there is still some duplication here a bit of this if loading and else if, and these things can be solved with recomposition, which I want to probably show in the next one. How do we get rid of this export default GraphQL everywhere? Because honestly, I don't think this is a very nice solution, especially considering that this is a pure function, and now this pure function needs to know about, needs to have this GraphQL stuff imported and all the stuff, while it would be nicer if we don't need to do this here. The only reason we're doing GraphQL here is so that we get it in props, but there is a way with the recomposition to solve it easier. So this is in the next one. I'll probably going to continue with the refactoring this guy a bit. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions on open source code you want me to look at and refactor that, let me know in the comments on YouTube or live video. Thank you for watching. Maxim out.